If you would ask me what car manufacturer from China is gonna succeed the next couple of years here in Europe, I'd probably tell you BYD. Now, why is that? Well, first of all, BYD is already a massive car manufacturer. They make a lot of cars and also a lot of EVs. Not as much as Tesla yet, but they are making a lot of EVs. But mostly because they make their own batteries. And not just a couple, at this moment they're the second biggest manufacturer of batteries worldwide. They make tons of batteries and they even sell their batteries to Tesla, for example. And today I'm gonna drive the BYD Han. This is their flagship model. And today I'm gonna tell you everything about it. I'm gonna show you the interior, the exterior, and I'm gonna take it out for a drive. You may not have heard of the Han before, but you probably have heard of BYD by now, because BYD is doing a massive online and TV campaign in Europe. They're trying to sell the BYD Atto 3, which is a compact electric hatchback, like a Volkswagen ID.3. But that's not the only car they're selling in Europe. They're also selling this, the Han, and also the Tang. Now the Tang is basically just as big as the Han, only it's a little bit higher up because it's an SUV. And they're also gonna sell two new cars in the autumn of 2023, which is gonna be the Seal and the Dolphin. And I've also made videos with those cars, so if you wanna check out those cars, you can also go to the link in the description box below. But in this video, we're gonna focus on this car, the BYD Han. I'm gonna take the car out for a drive in just a moment. It's gonna be a lot of fun because the car has more than over 500 horsepower. But first, let's quickly focus on the exterior design of the Han, because it's a pretty, well, I wouldn't say quirky car, because the car looks pretty plain if you ask me. However, the car is styled to look like a dragon, according to BYD. At first, I didn't really know what they meant by that, and then I looked it up, and apparently it's all about two elements. First of all, it's this black stripe here on the right and on the left, just above the air intakes, that are made to resemble like a mustache of a dragon. And apparently also in the D-pillar on the side of the car, you got this aluminum shield that looks like scales of a dragon. So basically the skin of a dragon. And that's about it. And like I said, I think the car looks pretty plain. It doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not as quirky as the Atto 3 or the Seal or the Dolphin. It is, however, pretty impressive in size. The car is really big. It's more than 5 meters long and 1.9 meters wide. So it's a pretty big car. What is, however, very impressive is the drivetrain. The BYD Han has two electric motors, one at the front, one at the rear axle, together producing 518 horsepower. So you can imagine the car is pretty fast. Now if you want to know how fast the car exactly is, you have to look at the trunk, because on the trunk you can see the 0 to 100 times, or the 0 to 62 miles an hour time, because on the trunk it says 3.9 seconds, and that's exactly what the 0 to 100 time is. I'm not sure what to think of that. I guess it's kind of quirky and kind of funny, I guess. I guess it's replacing the displacement of an engine, or the engine size, what typically would be on the trunk as well. So sure, why not? So 0 to 62 miles an hour in 3.9 seconds, that is really fast. Now obviously this is not the only electric car that is really fast, but still everything under 4 seconds is really, really fast. So they also gave this car Brembo brakes to make sure that this car would stop, because the car weighs almost 2,400 kilos, because again, it's an electric car, so it is fast and it is also very heavy. The car also has Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, so that's also pretty good. Now handling wise, the car isn't that sporty. Now obviously you got the Brembo brakes and you got the 0 to 100 time, but the car isn't meant to be driven that sporty, because it's just not made for that. You can feel it in everything. The steering is way too light, which is fine for a luxury sedan like this, but you shouldn't be driving this car all too sporty. But as a luxury sedan, the car is excellent. The car is, first of all, very quiet. You got double glazing here, and the suspension setup is not that firm. So again, that makes it almost impossible to drive this car sporty, but it makes this car very comfortable to drive. But if you're going to be driving this car, this is not the best place to be, the place where I'm sitting right now. The best place in this BYD Han is in the back seats, because you see, a lot of people in China love to be driven. Like, one of the first things that they do when they get a little bit of money is hire a driver and sit in the back seats. So basically everything in this car is orientated around the back seat area. So you even get this really big armrest that you can fold down, and then you get access to a really big screen, and you can use that screen to control basically everything in this car. You can control the audio, the volume, the radio stations, the song selection. You can also open the panoramic roof. You can set the mood lighting. Basically everything that I can control on this big screen here in the center, you can also control on the screen in the armrest. Talking about the screen here in the center, it's a really big screen. It really looks like a typical Tesla setup here on the dashboard. So you got this massive tablet-sized screen that is actually really fast to operate. It uses the Android Automotive system from Google, which means it is really fast. It's one of the fastest systems out there. It's just as fast as a Tesla infotainment system or a regular Android Automotive system. And the system has a really easy setup. I didn't need any time to get used to the system. So BYD gets a lot of points for their infotainment system. Then let's discuss the interior quality. Now I have to say I'm really impressed by that, because the dashboard and the entire interior looks really fancy and really pretty. It feels like an old school Mercedes setup. There's a lot of diamond patterns and stitching in the door panels and also on the seats that are really pretty. And I have to say the highlight in the dashboard is the aluminum on the center console and also on the dashboard. It almost looks like it's like plain fabric, but it's actually like woven aluminum. And it's actually pretty cool. When you set the temperature a little bit higher, the dashboard will light up in red. And if you set the temperature a little bit lower, the dashboard will turn blue. It's pretty quirky, but I have to say, it does look really good at night. Then let's talk about the specifications on this car. The car has an 85 kilowatt hour battery. It's like 85.4 kilowatt hours, giving this car a range of 521 kilometers, which is acceptable. It's pretty good. Now, obviously, it's a very big battery, so you expect a good range, but the car actually has it. The car is, however, pretty thirsty, but I did manage to get like 450 kilometers on a single charge, so that's very reasonable. What is less reasonable is the fact that the car only fast charges up to 120 kilowatts, which isn't terrible. And actually the car has a pretty good charging curve. It's a pretty flat curve, but the competition has cars that can charge faster. So the BMW i4 can charge up to 210 kilowatts, and even cars from Hyundai and Kia can charge faster than this car. But again, it isn't terrible, and because the car has such a big battery, it's still pretty doable. Now, what I really don't like on the car is the fact that it can only AC charge single phase. So yeah, that is really old school, and I haven't heard from any new other electric car that can only AC charge single phase. That is really old school, and that's really a letdown, because that makes it really hard to live with a car like this, especially if you're doing long distance traveling with a car like this. You want to be able to top off the car during the night. So yeah, that's a bit of a letdown, especially if you're spending this kind of money and you're not deciding to buy a BMW i4 or a Mercedes-Benz EQE. At least expect the car to be able to charge 3-phase. But I have to say, that's the only big letdown on this car. Everything else seems to be fine, and actually pretty good sometimes. And if they fix that, the single-phase charging issue, then I would actually recommend buying a car like this, because the car is not that expensive, relatively, because this car, as I'm driving it right now, has a sticker price of 72,500 euros, which is a lot of money, sure, but a BMW i4 with the big range and the Mercedes-Benz EQE are more expensive, especially if you're getting all the options that this car has, because this car is fully loaded with all the options that you can imagine, and it is all included in that price that I just named. So the panoramic roof, the heated seats, the sports seats, the fancy layout with the aluminium woven thingy here on the dashboard, the back seat with the folding armrest with the big screen in it, and also the back seats that you can electronically maneuver as well. It's all included in this price, so that actually makes this car definitely not a bargain, but it's definitely not a bad buy if they fix that one-phase problem. So that's it for this video on the BYD Han. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next one.